Richie Jackson tweeted, "Gay Like Me is my story about being gay during our plague-filled, often turbulent and momentous times. It is a love letter to being gay, to parenting, and to being in love." And Richie and his husband, Broadway producer Jordan Roth, join me now to discuss Richie's new book, Gay Like Me. Good morning.
Hi.
Thank you both for being here. I know you've had a late
us.
night. You're on Andy Cohen's show drinking, so thanks. You look fresh.
Well, I was the bartender. I made sure everybody else drank.
Well, that's always a good thing. So, Richie, talk to me about this book. You know, you began writing this letter to your son, Jackson, but when did you realize it was going to become this book itself?
Well, so Jordan and I have two children, and our older son, when he was 15, told us he was gay. And I was elated. I wanted him to be gay. I hoped he'd be gay. It was my greatest wish. And then he said, "Daddy, being gay is not a big deal. My generation doesn't think it's a big deal." And I thought, oh no, I have to share with him what it means to be a gay man. Being gay is the best part about me. It's the most important part about me. And I didn't want him to diminish it and demean the gift that it is. And then Donald Trump was elected. And he brought with him to Washington Mike Pence, Betsy DeVos, and Jeff Sessions, all more of an imminent threat to our son than ISIS and North Korea. And then I had to warn them what it takes to be a gay man in America. And that was the impetus for the book.
Yeah, that's just such an intimate thing to do, to write this letter for your son, but to also give it to the public. So, Jordan, what was it like when you first read this kind of public form of love?
Oh, well, I've read every draft, and it was everything that I love about Richie is on every page of this book. And to watch him, he has spent his whole career nurturing artists, and to watch him become one through the process of creating this book, which is a gift to our son, but really is a gift to all of us. It was a very moving process to watch.
We're not educated about ourselves. We are not giving any roadmap. There's no gentle hand guiding us. And so I had this opportunity to write the book I so desperately needed, that our son needs, that so many of us are hungry for, and that our parents need, and our straight friends have to read to understand us better.
And I know you've kind of touched on this already, but you said that your son felt like this wasn't a big deal. And when I read this book, it reminded me of how big of a deal it felt like for me. And, you know, last week your ex-partner, B.D. Wong, was here, and he also spoke about that too. So, and I think the overwhelming theme of this is that your son is going through a new moment for being queer in America, which is very different than even what I went through. Do you ever feel jealous of that experience, of going through the world feeling like it's not that bad for me?
I'm not jealous. I'm frightened. It's going to be worse for him. He thinks it's better. And I think all the rainbows and the hashtag love is masking this very real war that's being waged on us. So I wrote the book to point out what it's going to take for our community to bust out of its complacency. And I came to New York in 1983, right at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. We had to stand up and fight because we were imperiled by our own government. That same activism is required now.
For sure, for sure. You know, the book dives into that activism, but also dives into the very intimate life of the both of you, how you met, your love and everything. You know, when you read the book, when it was done, the both of you, how did you feel like it changed how you saw your relationship now, if it did?
Well, I think we both are people of constant self-examination and exploration, and so it really was a kind of very natural progression of our individual lives and our collective lives as a couple and as a family. So it felt all very, very natural, strangely.
One of the things that it's done for me is my life has always felt very haphazard, and I couldn't make sense of it. I had two goals, only ever two goals: to be a father and to love someone. The rest of it, everything I've done, the good, the bad, the secret, seemed to not make sense until this moment, to be able to write this book. And I figured out when I was writing it and talking about Jordan, that what we do right, what we do for each other is we love each other the way we need to be loved. It's not a general way of loving. It's not like, oh, this is the way I behave in a relationship or Jordan does. We found a way to heal each other by loving each other the way each of us had to be loved.
I love that. I love that you're sharing with us how political that your love is, because it is very political when you see two gay men together. Right. And I think your relationship, especially in the public eye, has been seen as very political. You know, famously, Donald Trump did attend your wedding. You both have spoken out against him. You just spoke out against him right now. But what advice do you have to people who have families like yours, where there are folks in your family that do support President Trump, but you yourselves do not, because he is damaging to the love that you have? Do you have any advice there?
You know, for us, our family is our family. And that was true long before this presidency and will be true long after this presidency. And I think staying together and holding on to that family bond and that connection and that respect is where we start and end everything.
I think that, you know, Donald Trump is destroying so much. And so what we all don't want to have happen is have him destroy our families too. But what I would say to young LGBTQ people who feel in their families that some of their family members or their parents might support Donald Trump is do not diminish yourself because of that. Do not make yourself smaller because you feel like someone in your family doesn't value you. You are beautiful, you are worthy, and you can love your family, you can disagree with them, but don't make yourself smaller. And
I think a man that really embodies that, not making yourself smaller, is Pete Buttigieg. You both have supported publicly. Yes. He is running for president, for those not paying attention, and he's an openly gay man. What do you think that says about where we are at here in America, that a gay man can get this far in a race right now?
It's an extraordinary watershed moment, and can't be diminished, can't be made smaller and taken for granted, that we are here at this moment. And not that we fought for this moment, that we marched to this moment, where somebody like Pete, who would be an extraordinary president and would lead us with his heart and his head in ways that we need to be led. And the fact that he is a gay man is a plus. It is not a, oh, well. It is part of who he is. It is part of how he leads. It is part of why we love him. And that's a moment to step towards.
Yeah. You know, Pete's been getting a lot of backlash from certain aspects of the community, and we've talked about this before, where people don't think he's gay enough, and that can mean 1,000 things.
And isn't that an extraordinary moment?
But I do,
right?
I think
it's crazy.
Look, our son told us he was gay when he was 15. We celebrate the young people coming out so early. We celebrate the young kids who are standing up at their school auditoriums and declaring who they are, and that Brigham Young valedictorian speaker who declared himself. But the 31-year-old man, the 31-year-old gay man who lives in the closet because he has shame, because he's afraid the life he wants for himself is not possible, is as legitimate a gay experience as these young people coming out. And our community has never had a litmus test for being a part of it. And I think we have to be very careful. You could be out of the closet, you could be in the closet. You could be self-loathing, you could be proud. We accept everyone and we don't have a litmus test. And that's what disturbs me about the conversation about whether Pete's gay enough.
All right, being gay is so much bigger than if you can test it by rainbows and glitter.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, before I let you go, I want to flip this book on its head a little bit and pose a question to both of you. I feel, or we know, that this book is a piece of advice for your son, Jackson. But what advice has Jackson given the both of you that has surprised you as queer people or part of our community?
Well, as a young gay person, he taught us that the word queer is now positive. As you could probably tell, I don't use that word. And I really struggle with it. I was called it so many times growing up, and I still can't wrap my head around it. And he explained it to us, and he also taught us to ask people their pronouns. He is has an expansive view of the community, and it's a beautiful thing, and he has brought that home to us.
That's amazing. What about you, Jordan?
I think a lot of what Richie has shared, and I think Jackson has a a beautiful way of walking through the world about his gayness, his queerness, but also just about who he is as a singular entity, as a human. And I think we've both learned a lot from watching him.
He's not a people pleaser. And he doesn't seek approval, so that's been...
That's great. We need more.
I mean, we learn from that daily.
Yes,
I could take a little more of that.
We need more of that in young queer people. Be yourself. Don't be a people pleaser. Well, thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Of course,
Thank you for supporting.
Of course. And Gay Like Me is available today wherever books are sold. Up next, Alex is talking with singer Kay Michelle. Stay tuned.